Shann Coleman is the Manager of Strategic Nuclear Alliances and Variable Resources at Duke Energy. He previously held several positions at GE Hitachi Nuclear Energy, including team leader of the Fuel Bundle Assembly Operation and senior engineer for criticality safety, material control, and accountability. Really, the only thing I know about this guy is he's a nuclear engineer. Shann graduated from the University of Tennessee with an undergraduate degree in nuclear engineering and Ohio State with master's degrees in nuclear and civil engineering. Please welcome Shann Coleman.
All right, can you hear me? Okay. Once again, my name is Shann Coleman, and I'm going to talk about a little about the networking group, the Wilmington Minority Professional Networking Group, and I'm going to take you on a little journey first. I'll start with a little bit about self, how the networking group became about, and what I see for Wilmington and the ask. So a little about myself. Who am I? I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a nuclear professional, as Rob said. I'm a big college football fan, so I always like to say, go Vols, go Bucks. I've been in the nuclear industry for about 15 years. I am diverse. I've been a resident, or have been a resident of Wilmington for about 10 years. My hometown is Somerville, South Carolina. So who I am is really I represent a large demographic of Wilmington. Someone who is not originally from Wilmington, but who has moved to Wilmington really to advance their career, their families, their area. So in that sense, I don't think I'm anything special. I am your employees. I'm your owner of your dry cleaners. I, once again, represent a standard demographic of Wilmington. So who I am not. I'm not a human resources. I'm not a consultant. I'm not in legal. I'm a nuclear engineer. That's scary to think, but I'm a nuclear engineer. Okay? So, the networking group. Why start it? How did it come about? I started with a feeling of frustration. Being in Wilmington for about 5 years before I started a networking group, there really was not a way to meet people outside of my work group and my family group. I love my family. I love the people who I worked with, but I wanted more. I wanted to be able to touch and feel people outside of just the people I saw every day. So I started really out of a feeling of frustration. It was either do something or move. You know, the average person, I think, has a feeling of belonging. They want to feel like they belong in something. We see that in churches, civic organizations. They want to feel connected. So this is a picture of my dog, Princeton. I think about my dog. When I walk in the house, he wants to follow you around. He wants to jump on your lap. That's the true definition of feeling and wanting to feel included. You know, so I always say inclusion, join the pack. I always have to remind my wife, we're a pack to him. He wants to be a part of us. So that's what's key. So if it works for our dogs, I think it works for us too. So now talk about inclusion, join the pack. What is inclusiveness? So the first question really, and I'll revisit this, is the culture of Wilmington an inclusive culture? So just reflect on that for a minute. We'll come back to it. But is the culture of Wilmington, and should the culture of Wilmington be an inclusive culture? Is inclusiveness a core value of Wilmington? If it is, you know, if something's a core value, the way you show it is through behaviors. Behaviors are actions. What actions are we taking as a community to show that this community is inclusive? A behavior is something that's observed or measured. What observable actions are we taking? What's the behaviors to show we're inclusive? So the creation of a networking group. At the time I created a networking group, I worked for GE Nuclear Energy. So I would call that my benchmark. It was very easy to benchmark with GE. I worked there. One of the growth traits at that time, I'm no longer an employee at GE, so I'm not sure if it's still a growth trait, but one of the growth traits at that time was inclusiveness. Inclusiveness was a way that GE looked at how to grow, how to empower, how to make stronger teams. If you have a stronger team, if you have a strong team, if you have a group that can work together, come up with creative ideas, quite naturally, you're going to do better in business, you're going to make more money. So one of the actions, one of the behaviors that GE has is that they have networking groups. called affinity groups. There's a GE African American Forum, the GE Women's Network, the Asian Pacific American Forum, the Hispanic Forum. Those are some of the networking groups. And as a quick aside, I would recommend something like that for most large companies too, to show, if you believe in diversity, inclusiveness within your company, the networking groups, affinity groups are a great way to show that for your own employees. So I had the same vision for Wilmington. So I used kind of what I saw with the networking groups or the affinity groups within GE and did the same thing for Wilmington. So the three key themes of the Wilmington Minority Professional Networking Group: developing friendships, connections, economic growth, and community retention. So developing friendships and connections. That's the primary reason why the networking group was started. Once again, I'm feeling frustration. How do you meet? How do you interact? How do you develop friendships outside of your normal environment? And I hope that the networking group does facilitate that. It's helped me, and I know I've been told that it's helped a lot of other people that have recently moved to Wilmington who did not have a way to meet people outside of the networking group. A lot of people have developed good friendships and things such as that. So this is just a few pictures of past events. Economic growth and development. I know that I've been told that people through the networking group, through the networking, have found job opportunities, have been able to advance in their career. So just that networking, that being able to connect the right people to the right businesses have been important. Also, getting your name out there, business growth and opportunity. The sponsors of past networking meetings, I'll give an example. Staybridge Holiday Inn has sponsored past networking meetings. So sometimes I come in town, guess where I stay? Staybridge Holiday Inn. It's about getting your name out there. When the Staybridge was first built, I'm not sure if they had other network, but I'm sure that the networking meeting that we had was probably one of the first ones they had to get their names out there. And supplier development. We've had meetings where we've had, the specific theme has been supplier diversity. How do you connect smaller businesses to larger businesses? And some of the businesses, I'm not going to try and list them all because I know I'll forget someone, so I'm not going to try, but I will list some. UNCW has sponsored networking meetings. PPD has sponsored networking meetings. GE has sponsored networking meetings. New Hanover Regional Medical Center has sponsored networking meetings. These are ways that when these large companies sponsor these meetings, smaller companies can meet with the leadership at these and develop potential business relationships. So I always tell people at these meetings too, support the businesses that support diversity and inclusion. If a business has taken the time and money and effort to promote and sponsor a meeting, I think we should support those businesses because they've shown that they believe in diversity, they've shown they believe in inclusion. And thirdly, growing roots, retention. When people grow roots in the community, when they become ingrained in the community, they're more likely to stay. I'm not going to claim that the networking group has made people stay in Wilmington, but I will claim that the networking group has helped people not to want to leave as quickly because they have grown roots, they have learned about people and developed those special connections to make people want to stay. So what does that mean for business? It's cost savings. I'll give you, for instance, right now I have an open position in my organization. I'm on my third round of interviews. Anytime I have to fly someone out, that's another cost to my bottom line. So if I can fill a position and keep someone in that role, that's a cost savings to me. So it's about cost savings, happier employees. Secondly, it's about inclusive and aware community. An example of that, New Hanover County has sponsored a networking meeting in the past. What they did is they had booths of all the various departments within the county to let people know about the services that the county can provide to the residents. And they let people know about the services to people that may not normally come to the government center. So, when the county shows that they want everyone to understand what's available, what's out there, once again, that shows inclusion. That shows an aware community. What that does is that helps people to retain and want to stay in Wilmington. So what's next for Wilmington? I'll revisit the question. Is inclusiveness a core value? if you submit that it is, what are the behaviors that this group, that Wilmington is showing to believe in that? I ask you to reflect. When you think about your dinner parties, no holiday parties are coming up, how diverse are these parties that you're sponsoring? How inclusive are these things that you're doing in the area? Inclusiveness starts with self first, in my opinion. I'm just speaking for Shann. Inclusiveness starts with self. Once you've started with self, what is the community then doing to be more inclusive? So I would submit that one of the behaviors, one of the observable behaviors, is a networking group. So I guess one ask would be, if you believe that inclusiveness is a core value, what support or what are you interested in supporting, maybe being a sponsor, having employees be involved of the networking group? But really bigger than networking group, what I would challenge everyone in this room is what's next? What's bigger than the networking group? My wife and I now, we live in Charlotte. We no longer live in Wilmington. We've been in Charlotte for about a year now. But we still come back to Wilmington because everyone has been asking, hey, are you going to keep it going? It's important. We want to see it continue. So we do come back. My wife, she's my vice president. She's my right-hand person. And we still come back and support and keep the networking group moving. But once again, we're in Charlotte now. So what other opportunities could this group show to make sure that Wilmington is inclusive? It's all about business. It's about growth. It's about your employees, about the community. I think we have a better community when we have an inclusive community. Thank you.